So welcome back to the channel, guys. This is the next episode or installment of our M3 project. Today we will be doing things like this. And this. And some of this. Damn! So if you guys remember, there was a few issues at the track day that were, apart from the weather, with the car. The first one was noise, the second one was cooling a little bit, and the third one, which wasn't really mentioned as much in the video, now watching it back, but was more prevalent on the day, is the smell of fuel from the vehicle as well, which is why we were talking about taking the water meth tank out, because that sits currently close to the petrol tank, so we wanted to pull that out because we could get better access around there to see if any leaks or anything like that. So where we're going to go from here is we've got a track day booked in a couple of weeks, and we want to do a few of the service items that we needed to do. We need to do some repairs, we need to do some more upgrades to the items I mentioned, noise, cooling, things like that. And also we're going to rip out this god awful ugly rear end, new rear subframe, all poly bushed. We're going to change out the rest of the remaining bushes at the rear end as well for poly bushing, check the entire underside of the vehicle at the back, change the brake lines, do a few odds and sods like that, as well as, like I say, a few more little bits and pieces that we want to get done, mainly before September, before we go on the track tour, but also before the 21st, which is the next track day, which is our final shakedown at Brands Hatch. So one of the issues we're experiencing was the exhaust system, and also we think most of the intake noise, in all honesty. We're going to have to come back to the intake side of things. But for the exhaust, what we have done is there was previously a restriction in it, which has now been removed. So we're now running a true 3-inch system. But we also have another silencer now in line, just to take the edge off it, and taken some of the packing out of this, but also gutted it and made it larger internally in terms of flow. So it is literally a 3-inch all the way through now. Like I say, remove some of the sound deadening material from this as well, because we think we basically put too much in it. One of the guys at the track day actually said to us, you know, how tight have you packed the silencer? And in fairness, we did pack it quite tight. So what you end up there essentially is a straight pipe, because the exhaust fumes have nowhere to sort of bounce around and be muffled. So that's another change we've made. The eagle-eyed amongst you would have spotted a different and a wider wheel and tyre, but we'll come back to that later, and that's all part of a bigger plan. So yeah, let's get this rear end out. Okay, so the subframe is now out, as you saw. So the whole rear end's been dropped out, so not just a subframe. Here it is on the floor here. It'll be easier to start stripping everything off and working on it down there, to be honest. Which also means it leaves us space to get on with stuff under here. So, as you can see, it's actually not too bad. It's got a little bit of scabbiness around here. The rear subframe reinforcements are all good. I've got no concerns here. We will have a proper detailed look shortly, but yeah. No issues with anything bending, snapping or cracking as regards to the old subframe reinforcement. There's the other piece up here. It's still looking good. But like I say, we will clean it all off and before we underseal it and make sure everything's good. I have all new brake lines going in, new braided lines as well. Fuel lines are fine, we're not fussed with those, they're all in good nick, so we're not going to worry about those for now. So all of this we will underseal shortly. Well, we'll get cleaned up first, obviously, and then underseal. But yeah, so the source of the fuel leak was a corroded connection between the rubber and the hard plastic hose, which we've now dealt with, and that should now resolve the fuel smell we were getting in the car. Yeah, so on to the next stage. So here we have proof that the internet can be wrong. We followed some an online guide as to how to mix it, and some of it has come up better than other bits. It might just be because it's German engineered sound deadening. If I come around to the other side, it should be done pretty well in this section. And the back seat area is done quite well. Basically what we've done is mix this with this dry ice. There's got a small amount of isopropanol, rubbing alcohol, which basically sort of speed up the reaction and help paste it to various places. It's coming up quite well. Obviously in the horizontal sections, it's slightly harder to get it onto the vertical sections. But still a lot easier than heating up and then scratching off. And there's nothing cooler than putting your hand. Ooh, it's magic. Oh. And now we result into this. So skip forward 24 hours after our little explosion and temporary air line which was making everybody deaf, and we now have our replacement ripsaw. So this is the sum total of our first stage of weight reduction. As you can see, this is the old console shelf. That is the wiring we have done, like I say, stage one, so we're going to do some more, but that's the first stage. And here we have the sound deadening. Quite heavy, it's about nearly 6 kilos there. There's a couple of kilos in this and probably 1.5 kilos in there. So yeah, we reckon we're somewhere around the 10 kilos at least in this little bit here, try and offset some of the weight of the roll cage. Okay, so here we have the freshly undersealed. There we go, we've done the rear arches as well. New brake lines are in. Fuel lines are all good anyway, so we're quite happy to leave them as is for the moment. As you can see here, all ready for reinstallation. Okay, so here we have a few more bits. Mostly this is front end related, but there's a couple of rear end parts in here. So along with everything that's going on with the back end being pulled out and all the polybushes done, you will see handbrake cables, new handbrake shoes, and a fitting kit. Grills, they are just eBay crap. The idea being that they fit the Matty Evans bonnet that we have installed on the car. Obviously that is your coolant expansion tank, Moroso one. Not many options on these, to be honest. The market's reasonably limited, so someone could do well if they start knocking those out. Burkhardt Engineering inner CV joint rebuild kit, obviously a pair of those. This little badger here, CPV, with the Hack Engineering uprated O-ring. So that's just the original standard BMW one, new one, which we'll apply that to when fitting. A little bit of suspension, top mount reinforcement for the rears and obviously for the fronts. Front subframe reinforcement. Basically these parts just weld in. Most people know what these are, but we'll show you obviously when it's done. That is the new, the secondary bonnet vent we're going to be using. If anyone's seen Build Journal, the American guys, they make that. High pressure power steering line from Proline. They they can make a noise, not just Proline but just in general there, that they can occasionally, some vehicles have reported noises, or the power steering pump being a bit noisier. Power steering, braided line here obviously, some say it can make it a bit noisier, doesn't bother me, it's a track car. Rev shift engine mounts, so basically these are a good combination because the car will still get used on the road a little, but these are the 95As, which are a good compromise. Got the Powerflex front lower arm bushes, set for caster, as a little bit of caster adjustment as well. Again, like I say, this is still going to be an occasional road car, so we're not going full retard just yet.
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
A couple of new tow hooks, obviously endless brake pads, an in-date new fire extinguisher just for in-car until we plumb in a proper fire extinguisher system, and automatic brake cooling for the front, which will be hooked up to ideally the front bumper as well in time. So there you have it. There's a few more of the bits that are going to go on shortly. Also got a few more bits up here, namely obviously the Pro Boost, that's going to be used for the fueling. There's a few bits of carbon, a couple of other bits and pieces that we're looking into. So yeah, that's the next stage. So this is a E46 M3 rear end in its unnatural habitat on the floor, and thank you very much, lighting director. No one wants to watch us pull all this stuff off and fit it all, so we're just going to make snippets up, and time lapse takes a month and a half to edit. So by the magic of TV, here is the before, and here is the after, and here, by the magic of the internet, is the revised one. Okay, so to clarify, what we've done here is we have, starting at the top and the rear, as you can see, new subframe, brand new bushings all round. We want to keep it a little compliant for now, that's why we haven't gone for solid bushings. It's not a full-on race car at the moment. Rear diff bushes as well, all bushes basically, front diff as well, the nose bush as well at the front. That has also been replaced, I don't know if you can see that in there. There goes the front. Still working with the Driftworks adjustable lower arms, got the H&R adjustable rear anti-roll bar, it's got the uprated bushes in it too. The CV joints, inner CV joints, both been rebuilt with the Burkhardt Engineering rebuild kits. You can just about see them through there. The subframe itself, we've also reinforced a little bit. We've done a couple of additions, a couple of little extra welds, just things where we weren't particularly happy maybe when we did the refresh on it. So yeah. And going back to the floor, it was inspected obviously before being undersealed, and we had 0 cracks around the original repairs that were done prior to our ownership of the vehicle. But no, we're more than happy with those. So with the rear subframe in now, as you can see, I'm probably going to change these lower arms. We've been having a chat, and they're the Driftworks ones. Nothing really wrong with them. It's just extremely difficult if we want to do any adjustments when it comes to rear settings. As you can see how close that is in here, and imagine obviously on the other side once the exhaust is in, and yeah, so probably going to opt for something different on that. There's a couple of options in the pipeline at the moment, but we'll just refit them for now just to make it a roller again. And here we have the fuel tank. As you can see, there's a little bit of extra plumbing here. Failed to film that when we did it, however that is the Burkhardt Engineering secondary fuel pump kit. So essentially what that is doing is feeding the main fuel pump. So a secondary pump that sucks it up from one side of the saddle tank, as you can see, saddle tank, as it sounds, it's like a saddle, and yeah, sucks it up on one side, drops it into the other, which means you can pretty much run the car close to dry and not have any fuel starvation when you're going through sort of high G corners. And fuel tank in. So now the rear parcel shelf area has been removed, as you can see here, and Tommy's just prepped ready for the rear brace mounts to be tack welded into place. Okay, so progress continues at a good rate. We are now completely built up on the rear end, all assembled, studs back in, calipers all cleaned up, reinstalled, new rear braided lines to go with our new hard lines. We also have new arms sourced now, so we should have those shortly. Unfortunately, whilst tightening up the caliper on this near side, the apprentice Josh has found out the hard way what happens if you don't have your tooling correctly secured whilst trying to torque things up. I'll slice a little picture in here, excuse the pun. Damn! Here we have our pretty much finished rear end, which includes, if I work my way from the inside out, we have the Burkhardt Engineering inner CV joint rebuild kit for both sides. Also refreshed the outers as well. We've got the new lower control arms. You can see the KW Club Sports already in place from before, along with the stock tech brakes. We've got new wheel bearings in those hubs. We've got new brake lines, obviously hard lines and braided lines. The subframe has been completely polybushed now. It's all black bushes around the diff, and then the regular ones for the diff cradle to body. Also, it has brand new handbrake cables and handbrake shoes as well. So while we were in the back end, we thought we'd just refresh everything. We were having some trouble with the offside handbrake as well, so we've carried out a repair on the mounting plate for that, and like I say, new handbrake cables and handbrake shoes. And you can see where we've undersealed everything underneath as well. Obviously all polybushed on the trailing arms as well, control arms, etc, etc. And there's the H&R adjustable rear anti-roll bar too. So we are now going to move on to the front end. Okay, so we have now moved around to the front end. Probably the best thing we can do, we've decided whilst we are here with it up in the air before we start the cage finalation. Tommy has been busy in the back sorting out the rear brace and welding all the rear section. We've quickly dropped the tank back out in preparation for the cage to go in, and all the plates to get welded in. But what we've decided to do on the front end now is various jobs, including engine mounts. We've got a braided braided high pressure power steering line to go in. We're going to make an adjustment to the anti-roll bar. We've got engine mounts. We've got what else we got on my list? Brake cooling ducts to go in, the automatic brake cooling ducts. We've got some caster arm bushes to go in as well. So to replace the standard front, lower, rear bush on the lower arms. Also got a new Vanos line, braided Vanos line from Hack to fit as well. We're going to do a cooling plate for the top here, channel the air straight through into where it needs to be, because the front end in the middle, as you can see, is quite open. I'm going to try and make up a carbon plate for that. It will then sit quite snug with the bonnet, hopefully, just help again to direct the air. And also some subframe welding, so we're going to do some subframe reinforcement as well for the front end. Okay, so here we have the rear shift engine mounts obviously on the subframe, but you'll also notice the addition of this piece here. Yeah, this piece here. This piece here. This piece here. These are basically to strengthen the weaker points around the engine mounts on the front subframe. We've given it a quick clean up, and yeah, it's come out quite nice. So that's now going to go installed back in. We can't fit the power steering, if you can see it. Essentially, the braided power steering line will not go in here, mainly because of the silicone piping. So it's very close to the pump. You can see it up through there. But yeah, basically we won't be able to, it'll be banging into that, and even if we try and cushion it, it'll be wearing a hole in that and making that pipe deform quite considerably. So we're going to have to leave that for the moment and move past it. We're just about to, the CPV valve's been done. You can't really see it, to be honest with you, in there. But yeah, just as it's done. And we're just about to do the Vanos line. There's the Vanos line going up there, so we're going to change that quickly before the subframe goes back in. And as if by internet magic, there you have it. The new Vanos line is installed. You can see it there, shot from underneath obviously. Get a shot from upstairs in a bit. And now it's the subframe to go in. And Josh is working currently on the cooling ducts for the front brakes. And here we have one of the additions to the front end, which are the brake cooling ducts. Now fitted up. We're going to have to come back to routing the feed to them after the Brands Hatch track day, because we're a bit pushed for time and we haven't ordered any of that stuff in yet, because we wanted to get it offered up and see what exactly we're going to need to run it to the front bumper. But yeah, there it is. Nice, simple but effective design. And obviously the disc sits on top of here. And it's fed cool air straight from the front of the car straight into the centre of the disc, which is then obviously dissipated by the turbulent air and cools the disc down. One of the mods that has already been done, which I didn't film, which we did a little while ago, as you can see there is the solid steering coupler. So as you can see, that just takes a lot of the slop out of the steering. It does feel fantastic afterwards actually, with the purple tag rack, which we've also got on here, although I'll do a full breakdown at some point of the all the mods done to the car. But yeah, that's another really nice little upgrade. Nice and simple, nice and cheap, and makes a hell of a difference. Real good positive feel from the steering after that. So here we have our caster bush setup from Powerflex. This just allows a little bit of positive caster over the standard setup. Again, like I say, this is a road and track car still at present, so we're not going full retard on it at the moment.
Everybody knows you never go full retard.
Now on this side you can see again the second engine mount, rev shift on rated engine mount. Moving on to the bonnet, a couple of jobs we've got to do on that. The grills are finally here. These are just cheap Chinese eBay rubbish, but they're for the later E46s, which fit this particular Matty Evans Racing bonnet. Exploded it, and it's in two bits. The plan being to remove all the uprights, so all of these come out on both pieces, and then use the original mesh that we've used, or the mesh we had been using, trim it down to size and sandwich it in between the two. I'll probably wrap this white as well, just for a good contrast for the kidney grills, so it doesn't look too black on the bonnet. So here we have version 2.0 of our bonnet. So finally got around to getting some kidney grills for it, basically later spec E46. Ones wrapped them to go with the white, what we call a Stormtrooper white. It's like a very bright white metallic. Can't see it obviously in the light at the moment. Also meshed, and these are nice and solid. I mean, this is, you can see how strong these are. Should stop any rubber, stones, etc. puncturing the power steering cooler or the radiator. And we have our secondary vent installed now, which is made by the guys at Build Journal. They call their Track Spec Motorsports vent. Normally it sits a bit lower, but obviously we've got this front one which picks up the air nicely off the back of our thicker cooled radiator. Custer Creative Aluminium Fabrications, Custer Colin Ray, shout out to him for the radiator. It's an awesome bit of kit. And yeah, so this will help pull that extra air off the top as well. You can see it a bit better when we look down through it like that, get a better idea of the flow that we're looking at, pulling that hot air off the back of the rad. So yeah, version 2.0. I'm sure we're going to evolve it more, and eventually I think we'll end up meshing out these vents as well, but at the moment we're quite happy just leaving them as is. So here we are, day before the track day, early morning, trying to get everything done. I don't know when the last update was, if I'm honest, because we've just been trying to push through. We have had to make a couple of sacrifices. Sadly, we're not going to get the cage in for the track day. Obviously it will be in for the trip in September, but here's a quick update. So at the moment we're basically at the stage where Josh has got the seats and the harnesses in. We've obviously fitted the rear bar, as you can see, because of what we've taken out some of the strength out of it with the parcel shelf. However, we have left a large section in. But this will just stiffen up the rear end for now, and also gives us a good point for the belts, just for testing purposes. Tommy's about to work on the mounting of the AEM water meth tank, which is going to go in here. So he's currently figuring that one out. Josh is securing some of the stuff inside on the interior. He's busy with all of that. And then if you come around the front, we've done all the geo, so suspension is all set now, so we're happy with that. And what you might see, eagle-wide view, see the beginnings of our wide arch kit. We cutted out the rear arches as well. That's to be finished off later, but just for now to get the arches in place. Yeah, we're quite happy with how that's turned out actually, looks pretty decent. So yeah, new wheels, just got to go around and do some level checks, re-bleed the brakes, second bleed on the brakes, got to do a little bit of trimming behind that arch, and a few other odds and sods. And then load up the van, get ready to go to the track early tomorrow morning. So there she is, starting to get on now time wise, night before the track day. Yeah, just giving her a quick wash off. The lads have gone, van's loaded, gone to get fuel. There's loads of other bits I didn't get to film, I apologise for that, but it's just been a mad panic getting everything ready as it always is. A couple of curveballs as there always is as well at the end. But here we are, just put the last couple of bits in the car and then going to head out. Next stop, Brands Hatch.
You know, that's part of the fun.
We hope you enjoyed that, guys. Please leave us a comment below. We do really appreciate everybody's feedback. It will help us decide what gets put on the channel and what doesn't, ultimately what people want to see more of. Please also leave us a like. I like it a lot. Share with your friends.
Please be my friend.
And subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, if you want to know about any future uploads, you can hit the bell button to be notified. Thanks for watching.